Good morning from Grand Central Station in New York City. Let's talk a bit more about the business rules development process and recap this discussion, these last few videos a little bit. There's three elements that have to come together as we start to apply business rules in these kinds of processes. One of the most critical, probably the most critical element of the things that have to come together is the source data in some way. We've talked about show me the money, the requirements are in the data, the variability, the quality of that input data, all of those kinds of things are the most important thing, and those are what drive the entire business rule reference data application process, either inbound or outbound from the kinds of environments I'm talking about. That data, it's really hard to overstate what that requires. Probably the next most important element is going to be the programs that apply the business rules and reference data. Those are going to, you could simply build one of these kinds of environments with just a code, IT code, that applies the business requirements directly. All of the business rules could be embedded in code. We don't typically do that anymore because code takes time to change. That's a slow, tedious process to go through. But it is possible to do that, but the code determines how the rules are applied. If there's not a rule for some set of source data, then the code is going to determine if that's a suspense, if that's a reject, or if it's an ignore sort of condition. That's decided by the programs and the way the programs are written. There's all sorts of decisions that are made in that way about business rules application. The last thing that has to come together in this process is the actual business rules themselves and reference data, with the embedded reference data in those business rules. That is where the business gets to specify what the inputs or outputs are going to be from this system. What's going to be produced downstream, or what's going to be consumed in the platform in some way. So these three elements have to be very coordinated. If there's reference data and rules that don't match some set of input data, they're useless, they're ignored. If the source data has values that aren't specified in rules, then you're probably not going to get the outputs that you want to have. If the IT code does not apply those rules in a correct manner, or handles error conditions or exceptions, or doesn't run fast enough, all those kinds of things, you're not going to get the outputs you expect. So all three of these elements have to come together in a very coordinated way, and that requires testing. It requires testing against all three elements. You have to have all three elements in order to test effectively. That's what's required to build and operate a metric engine for these kinds of rule-based processes.